Anyhow, the big story of the day, the dismissal of Peter DeBoer, and as we've been talking about here on the program for a little while, well, ever since Dallas went out specifically, this is going to be a really wild offseason for Dallas. This is only as we understand it, the first shoe to drop. And I don't think it was just about the Jake Oettinger situation either. I don't think that it made things better. I went over the one theory last week that one goalie coach told me about why it went down the way that it did and how that pull was made and why that pull was made at that time. But that situation didn't help, nor did the press conference after, nor did the exit interviews. But I don't think that it was just those things that led to the dismissal of Peter DeBoer, because I don't believe that as a veteran general manager, Jim Nill is that frivolous about how he runs the team. I don't think that Jim Nill looked at the Oettinger situation and said, we can't have that here in Dallas. He's out. So I think it was a combination of a lot of things, and probably some things that played themselves out during the season as well, that ultimately led to the demise of Peter DeBoer and Steve Spott as well. So the question now becomes, A, what's next? And we've talked plenty this week, starting with my blog on the weekend, about Jason Robertson and the future there. And one of the conversations now is, of course, who's going to go in. Now, there's no hurry to fill the head coaching position. We are in June. Are there some teams out there that wish that they knew that Peter DeBoer was going to get fired before they made their hiring? Perhaps. As I mentioned on Twitter earlier on today, here's someone that's just had a 30-year run uninterrupted as either an assistant 1 year with the Detroit Junior Red Wings back in 94 and 95. And after that, it has been a 29-year head coaching run between the Whalers of both Detroit and Plymouth, and then the Kitchener Rangers, and then the Florida Panthers, the New Jersey Devils, the San Jose Sharks, the Vegas Golden Knights, and then the last 3 seasons with the Dallas Stars. This is an incredible run by a coach. 30 years of uninterrupted work, 29 of the 30 as a head coach, both in the OHL and then in the NHL. So some of the names that I've already started to hear whispers about. One, Neil Graham. Now, Neil Graham is the head coach of the Texas Stars of the American Hockey League. They're down 3-1 to Abbotsford in the American Hockey League semifinal. Now, I don't know if Neil Graham ends up getting the head coaching position, but as I mentioned on my blog earlier on this week, the Dallas Stars are in a situation where the secret is out on Neil Graham, that he's been doing a lot of excellent work with the Texas Stars, and that if they don't promote him soon, either to a head coaching position or at least an assistant coaching position in the NHL, another team might. So I think Jim Nill is very much aware of that. Names that we wonder about, Jay Woodcroft's name is still very much out there. Gerard Gallant is someone that Jim Nill tried to hire previously with the Dallas Stars until he was overruled. One of the mitigating factors there might be if Dallas wants Neil Graham on the bench and they also want to hire Gerard Gallant. Normally, where Gerard Gallant goes, Mike Kelly follows. And if it's a package deal, then it might not work with Gerard Gallant and the Dallas Stars. But that's someone that Jim Nill has showed interest in before. Nill at various times before showed interest in Dallas Eakins. I don't know if there was ever a conversation previous, but they have talked about a position before, I believe, and that was right around the time that Dallas Eakins ended up going to Edmonton. Eakins had also interviewed with the Vancouver Canucks and ultimately chose the Oilers. Todd Nelson with the Hershey Bears, that's a name you might hear from, and of course he's been an assistant coach with the Dallas Stars previously. And then a couple of, I don't know if I'd call them long shots, but I think some interesting names that we might want to keep in the back of our minds here. One is Gardner McDougall, who's a first-year head coach in the QMJHL with Moncton, the Wildcats. one of the winningest coaches in Canadian university hockey, and he's also won the Memorial Cup with St. John. Won the President's, Gilles Courteau Trophy, I should say, rather, in the QMJHL, and then took his team to the Memorial Cup. He's the winning machine. He's one name. And then there's another one, and I don't know if there's a head coaching position here necessarily, but one of the things that I had wondered about, and this is my theory on it, as we all know, the Dallas Stars are essentially Team Finland in a lot of ways. And we all made a lot about the Finnish Five starting that game against the Edmonton Oilers, and there's a lot of Finns on this team, obviously, both up front and on the back end. So the one name that I wonder about here is a gentleman by the name of Jussi Ahokas. Now, you've probably heard me talk about him before. He's the head coach of the Kitchener Rangers, one of the best coaches in junior hockey. He's come over to make a name for himself here before transitioning at some point to the National Hockey League. And why that name is interesting is Joe McDonnell, who's the head of amateur scouting for the Dallas Stars. He lives in Kitchener. So he would have seen the Kitchener Rangers a bunch and would be quite familiar with Jussi Ahokas and Rich Peverly, who works in player development for the Dallas Stars. He lives in Guelph, which is not too far from Kitchener as well. So this is the Stars organization that would know Jussi Ahokas very well. What this does is the firing of Pete DeBoer. What this does is it'll probably start some dominoes, and I don't know at what point they'll start falling. All I know is it's going to be a wild summer with the Dallas Stars, and as it was told to me, it's not lost on the Dallas organization that the last two teams to win the Stanley Cup, the Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights, they both made, as I'd refer to them as, ruthless decisions. Whether it's Marc-Andre Fleury, trading players just to open up cap space, or whether it's trading Jonathan Huberdeau coming off a 115-point season with the Florida Panthers. I think everybody in the Stars organization has realized that you don't win the Stanley Cup by being popular. You win the Stanley Cup by making ruthless decisions. That's what Vegas did. That's what the Florida Panthers did. That's why I think this is going to be one of the more interesting off seasons we've seen from the Dallas Stars in a long time. If you enjoyed that video, and we certainly hope that you do, please hit the subscribe button right there here at Daily Faceoff. I will put this lineup up against any hockey lineup anywhere. It all gets underway at 9 o'clock Eastern with Morning Cup of Hockey. That is Johnny Lazarus. That is Colby Cohen. Then at noon, it's DFO Live. And then 3 o'clock Eastern, The Sheet. Get caught up on everything in hockey.